Hey gang, and welcome back to another video. Now every now and again, it's good to challenge yourself to build something outside of the usual with just the scraps you have on hand. So in this video, I'm going to do just that, and build a medieval torch, perfect for a costume, themed room, or haunted display. So let's get to it. The base of this build consists of some common PVC pipe and PVC pipe fittings, starting with a 1-inch pipe cut at 9 inches long, a second piece of 1-inch pipe cut at 1 inch, a 1-inch PVC coupler, and lastly a 1-inch PVC cap. They'll fit together to make a basic handle like this. But before I assemble them, I want to remove any markings, particularly this type on the end cap, with a bit of sandpaper. That's better. The next thing I'm going to do is give our handle some texture with the help of my rotary tool and a cutoff disc. You can create a decent looking fake wood grain by cutting lines into the surface of the pipe in a back and forth motion. This is the best way I found to get a wood grain pattern onto a curved surface, where a wood graining tool wouldn't really work, and it's perfect for this build. After a quick dust off, it's time to get some paint on our handle. I'm using raw sienna acrylic paint, thinned with a tiny bit of water to help it sink into all the fine lines I created with the rotary tool. This color will act as the base wood tone and will be applied to the entire handle and then set aside to dry. Once the paint had dried, it was time to add a wash with some burnt umber acrylic paint. You'll want to thin this paint out a lot more than the base coat so that it fills in all the thin lines in the pipe, but also so that it'll stay wet longer, allowing you the time to wipe it away with a paper towel or damp rag. With the core of our handle taken care of, I can start with the upper cage portion of the build. I created these designs in Illustrator, and I'll be cutting them out of this 5mm craft foam. If you want to make your own torch, there's a free download link to my template in the video description. And just like that, I've got all my pieces cut. Isn't movie magic the best? There's 5 vertical decorative pieces, although I decided just to use 4 for easy spacing, 2 cage pieces, and the bottom cup section will be made from the wider strip and the circle. And speaking of the bottom cup section, let's get to assembling that first. I know a lot of cosplayers use contact cement with EVA foam, but I'll be using my go-to Surebonder cosplay stick hot glue for this build. The cosplay sticks are not like your regular hot glue sticks. It actually uses an industrial grade resin and has a higher softening point, which makes it perfect for this project. So with my glue gun at the ready, let's start putting this torch together. The round piece is designed to nest into the assembled strap piece, and then I'm able to run a bead of hot glue along the inside for added stability. This part isn't likely to be seen, so it doesn't need to be pretty. Then I can bond the thinner straps to themselves before moving on to adding the decorative vertical pieces. I'll start by applying my glue along the seams to hide them from the outside for a cleaner look, and then we'll evenly space the remaining pieces to form the upper section of the torch cage. I'll repeat these steps for a second ring, which I've spaced about 1 inch from the bottom edge of the first ring. And just like that, the second ring is in place, and I can move on to adding the bottom cup section, which is also spaced about 1 inch from the bottom edge of the second ring. Now that the foam cage is assembled, I can add in the 1-inch PVC coupler into the hole in the bottom. This really should have been done before gluing the cup in place, but learn from my mistakes and do this first. With the coupler in place, I'm going to glue these tails onto it. This will help to keep everything secure, but also helps to hide the coupler so that it doesn't look so industrial. Off camera, I heat sealed the foam by quickly passing it in front of my heat gun, which tightens up the foam structure, and I gave each of the decorative pieces a little turnout to make it a bit more interesting looking. And now I can move on to paint. And by paint, I mean rubberized coating. This coating gives most paints a good surface to bond to, and so I'll make sure that the foam and pipe get 2 heavy coats. Then I can set it aside to dry and shift my focus to the PVC end cap. This cap is really plain and needs to be modified so that it doesn't just scream, "I'm a piece of PVC pipe." So to do that, I'm going to use a pouncing motion to apply some acrylic modeling paste that should help to give this piece an old metal texture once I get to painting it. If you didn't have acrylic modeling paste, you could mix baking soda into black acrylic paint and apply it in the same way for a very similar texture. Once the cage is dry, I can take the same steps and apply texture to it as well, making sure to cover any faces that will be seen in the final prop. This modeling paste dries quickly, which makes it perfect for any of those last-minute prop builds. And speaking of dry time, all of the parts are dry and ready for paint, starting with a matte black base coat. As you can see, even with just the base coat, the texture really looks like old oxidized metal, and it'll look even better with a dusting of metallic spray paint. I'm applying this layer from about 2 feet away. My intention is just to catch the high spots, allowing the black base color to still be visible. This will make the texture stand out more and gives the piece a bit of depth. When everything is dry to the touch, we can move on to final assembly. All of the pipe pieces will fit into one another, and we can start to get a good look at our final prop. Now you know I want to add some more color to this piece, so I grabbed some red and yellow acrylic paint and mixed up a rust color and started to apply it across the cage section of the torch, followed by a wet brush to help blend out the paint. Because I want this torch to have a light inside, I grabbed some of this frosted shelf liner and cut a piece to fit inside the cage to act as a diffuser. Any thin, semi-transparent material should work, although if you're planning on using this outdoors, you'll want it to be weather resistant. And speaking of the light, I found this torch flame bulb online and saw that the LEDs inside can run off 5 volts power, which makes it perfect to run off batteries. But in order to connect it to a battery, I'm going to need to do a bit of hacking. I'm going to clip the wires that run from the LEDs to the circuit board, and since we won't need the circuit board, I'll remove that as well. Then I stripped the ends of the wires, grabbed a cell battery pack, which is just small enough to fit inside the 1-inch pipe, and connected them using some Wago connectors. And after a quick test of the light, we can get to prepping the bulb to fit inside the torch. Here's where that small segment of pipe comes into play. I'll feed the battery pack and connectors through the small piece of pipe, and using my cosplay stick hot glue again, I'll secure the pipe to the base of the light bulb. Everything then can get stuffed inside the pipe and gently press fit into the PVC coupler inside the torch to keep it in place. This also allows for it to be turned off and on without any visible switches. And since it's too bright outside to get the full effect, let's take it inside to see what the torch looks like. All in all, I think this might be one of my new favorite builds. It came together quickly and really looks the part, even in daylight. So there you have it, a fully realized prop made from the scraps that I've had laying around the shop. Now this was a low-risk creative exercise that I think paid dividends. It's also a great way to get out of a creative rut. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.